Love, love, till I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is John Hendricks. He is the CEO of Afford Group Housing Development and the founder of I Choose Life, which is a charity. Welcome.
Thank you.
John, last time you shared about your conversion to faith in God, Christianity, and through the darkest time in your life when you were addicted to drugs. So since then, for those people who haven't heard about it, maybe a brief thing, and also where you've moved on since then.
Yeah, sure. So the addiction came from experiencing a separation and a divorce, and then going out and enjoying some drinks and partying, and then experimenting with the odd recreational thing that was being offered at the time, and then one thing leads to another, and you're trying some small things, thinking that you're having a good time, and before you know it, you're finding yourself addicted. So it sort of moves quite quickly, and it really leaves nobody in its path. But having acknowledged that, and having recognised that that's not me and not the way I wanted to live life, I started working towards a reconciliation, and as I said, recognising that that's not the way I want to lead my children and lead my family. And, with the grace of God and seeking out God and asking for God's help and mercy and calling out, saying, this is not me, help me, get me out of here, within, I think, 2 weeks of calling for that prayer, he introduced me to my wife, my current wife. And, and I think together we worked towards a much healthier and better life for the both of us, and then that led me to, opening up the charity about 8 or 10 years ago, and that charity now supports people who are financially struggling in all different areas, who are struggling with any addiction, not just only, it could be alcohol, it could be things, but it assists them in financial setbacks if they're struggling financially. So it's been a privilege to be able to help them.
So when you were going downhill and you find yourself more caught up in the addiction, was there anyone who could see that happening, who tried to pull you out before you got worse?
Yeah, there was some of the friends that I was mixing with at the time. They were old school friends, and they knew me from primary school and high school, and they knew that wasn't the John that they knew since high school and primary school and through my married days. But as I said, sometimes addictions are stronger than the personality, and this is what we have to be careful of. It's the same as alcohol. It's the same as watching too much TV. It's the same as being on your phone for 5 hours straight or something. It's of course one has more effect on you than the other, but nevertheless there's still addictions, and any type of an addiction can require something higher than us to break. In other words, when I say higher than us, I'm talking about if we were able to break the addictions in our own power, in our own capacity, we would, like turning on a light on and off. We can't just turn off an addiction when we want. It doesn't go off by the light. Unfortunately, the addiction fears rules us and takes over. And it's not just a case of turning it off. So yeah, there was friends that came to help, and they started to put some reality back into me. Hey, what are you doing? What's going on? And be careful, and that's what good friends do. And I think from that moment, and things started escalating fairly quickly in a positive way. But again, I put it down to crying out to God, just seeking his help and assurances. And I just want to let people know that there's a better life, There's a peaceful life, a happy life of tranquility and helping others and getting enjoyment and joy from the smallest of things, Geraldine. You know, you don't necessarily need to be doing big things to get high. You can get small things and get a high from walking in the park.
Yeah.
You know, just seeking help, just working at a local volunteering place or just doing something for someone else. You see enjoyment out of just the simple things in life.
Hugs give you endorphins and make you feel good.
They do.
And sharing deeply is a great feeling of intimacy and warmth.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that opened up an avenue in I Choose Life that was able to assist people, and so I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing other people being assisted, and interesting when I counsel them or speak to them or talk to them or share my experiences, a lot of them, they don't believe that they're going to get better, or they don't believe that they can get better. They are their own obstacles because they think they're caught up in a rut, and their mind deceives them from accepting the reality that they can get better, because that is reality, they can, but they have to acknowledge it first and then seek help outside their own capacity, because under their own control they can't, they're stuck in a what would you call it, they're stuck like in a rut, and that rut is preventing them from moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the drug epidemic is getting bigger in Australia, and so it's great what you're doing. You're kind of giving them life and hope. I suppose that's why the emblem I Choose Life. That is
I wanted
choice.
to share something with you that comes to mind from you asking those questions. Is that so we move right along into business, and in business there's also a number of challenges, and a lot of challenges are financial in business, trying to award contracts or trying to get money from the bank or trying to buy property or trying to do things that maybe you're not in a position to.
But before you go deeper into that, which just sounds very interesting, we'll go for a break now. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Go till I feel much breath of thy spirit flowing in me. Go till I feel much breath of thy spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is John Hendricks. He's the CEO of Afford Group Housing Development and the founder of I Choose Life. Welcome back, John.
Thank you, Geraldine.
It's great the work that you're doing in I Choose Life, and you're also working in housing development to help people get homes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just before the break I was sharing with you some challenges that we've experienced over the past 6 months. The market has changed, the property market has slowed down a lot, and whilst it was doing really, really well previously, we were able to buy and sell and trade in property, but now the market has slowed and the bank's lending is tightened up, and obviously anybody who's trading in property at the moment is going through some challenges. So
yes, and you use that profit to help I Choose Life.
That's right. The profit that was made out of the
charity.
businesses would be provided to the I Choose Life to help finance the charity. But the challenges that no doubt a lot of people would be facing in business every day about contracts and sales and staffing levels and winning new contracts to get new business in the door and things like that. I've really had to learn to surrender so many things to God in the last 6 months, but especially the last 6 weeks. So I thought that I was in a position where I could understand how to surrender things to God. I'd say, okay, I'll leave this with you, God, and He, most of the time He'd do something, but it wasn't that easy, and I really didn't understand what the word surrender meant, and I started studying it and reading it, and and learning more about how to really surrender your thoughts. Because when things take over our bodies and mind in business, or whether they're personal or private or whatever, they consume us. And when they consume our thoughts, we can't think of anything else other than what we're worried about at the time.
Yeah, I get it.
It's similar to a depressed state, but it's just all encompassing, our thoughts and our whole. It stops us from enjoying life, because what it does is it sort of like takes over our whole. And when we surrender it, when you think about surrender, when you surrender something, you are no longer in control of it. You are no longer control of the outcome. Yeah. So when you no longer control the outcome, that's where the worry goes away. Because if I hand something to you and I trust you that you can do it for me, you're capable, and I give it to you and I say, right, Geraldine, this is now up to you, and I walk away, and if I can completely and utterly be honest and trust you, then I no longer have the problem, do I? You now have the problem, true?
Yes,
like a hot potato.
Yeah.
So that whole surrendering to God was something about similar to like hopping on a plane. When you hop on a plane, you put your seatbelt on, you have no control over what happens at the front of the plane, do you?
That's true.
Whatever happens on the plane, if the plane goes down, you have no control. If your destiny arrives safely, again, you had no control. It's the same as going in for an operation. You lie on the operation bed, you have to trust the anaesthetists.
That's right.
True? You have to trust the doctor, the surgeon, because you can't negotiate with him, you can't or her, you can't control the outcome, can you? So it's the same as surrendering something to God. If you're worried about something in business, which I was, I had to just come before God and just surrender it to Him and just say, God, you're more powerful than me. You made me. You made this earth. You can sort this problem out, and I'm going to leave it with you, and I'm going to completely trust in you. So I started writing everything down. And to my surprise, when I started writing all the things that were worrying me, I came up with about 20 things, 20 items, and all of them were major items.
I see.
So I realised that I was really carrying quite a lot of anxiety and stress and worry. And you can never totally avoid stress, anxiety and worry, especially in business. But if we trust in our good God, who promises to take away all of those things from us, He will deliver. He will deliver to us. He will, and He did deliver to me. So I can only be very thankful and praise God and say, God, I didn't deserve what you gave me, but you gave it to me out of the goodness of your heart. But you gave it to me when I completely and utterly surrendered to you, Lord, So those experiences I've had, you think you learn a lot, but time teaches you that you're not really learning until you're experiencing things with God at a high level.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. And, I've had those similar challenges. And I like that verse in the Bible that says, for those who love God, everything works to good. And, and a friend of mine, Helen Alcock, she's in Agape, and she always says, what is the gift in this, Geraldine? What is the gift? And I suppose you have seen a gift in this, and I can see you, much more relaxed than I saw you a few weeks back.
Thank you. Thank you for your prayers for me as well, I wanted to say.
It's a pleasure. Prayer is the most powerful powerhouse.
That's all we have in this world, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yes. And it's great that you trusted God amidst challenges, many challenges, and that was inspiring to see your faith.
What was really starting to worry me was this feeling of anxiety and worry and this all-consuming, it's like a pit in your stomach. It's like a pit right here that it just doesn't want to go away. It's a mixed emotion of grief and worry and not knowing the future, not being able to control it, and all of this stuff, but the freedom that you get from surrendering is
Yes.
amazing. Look, it really is. But because a lot of people used to say that to me, "Oh, just surrender it all to God." I say, "Yeah, of course
now
I have."
you know it.
Now I've experienced it
Yes.
firsthand.
On that note, we'll go for a break. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Go till I be but breath of the Spirit flowing in me. Go till I be but breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is John Hendricks. He's the CEO of a Ford Group Housing Development and the founder of I Choose Life, which is a charity. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, since your faith in God and your inspiration, where have you gone from about knowing God's character? Because you came to God and that helped you with release your drug addiction, and now you've really embraced God's love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess there's been many things throughout my whole life, where you live and you learn, but some things get repeated and you don't learn from them. You live, but you don't learn, you keep repeating them. And that tends to happen with a lot of the people that we minister to, even people that you minister through our charity. You see that they have repeated events happen to them, and they feel that they're being singled out or isolated, and they think, why do I keep repeating these things? But even business people, they can't break through a contract, or they can't get the finance, or they can't something that they want to achieve, they're unable to do, and it keeps repeating itself. And that happened to me, and it still does happen to me. But it's not until we learn to give that over to God and leave it with Him and really trust in Him entirely, like another level of trust, not just saying it, but really looking at the outcome and saying, okay, God, if this is good for me, I know you will make this happen. If it's good for me, for my faith, for my health, for my family, for my well-being, why wouldn't God help you? He wants to help you. He wants you to live your life to the fullest in business, in family situations, in personal life, in health. He wants you to be happy. So why wouldn't He help you? Because that's what He tells us. So it's really up to us to come to Him with our concerns, our worries, and put them before His feet and say, right, this is what I'm experiencing. I need you to help me. And we need to patiently be waiting for Him to be able to do His stuff. It's not about how, it's about when He puts it together for us. We just need to trust in Him. But of course, in our human weakness and in our nature, we want to control the outcome, and we don't believe that He can physically do anything in our position. Like I remember saying to someone, but how is He going to pay my credit card? But the fact is, He may not pay the credit card, but He'll give you extra money to help you pay your credit card bills, or whatever it may be, whatever you're experiencing. If it's health, if it's well-being, whatever it is, He'll find a way, because He loves us and He wants us, and He'll give us what is better for us, And so it's a whole new level of acceptance and trust, and He promises us a better future. So for me, I had lived and worked for, 30 odd years in my own capacity. And I wasn't able to make it work in my own capacity. So I thought, well, I can't make it work in my own capacity. I'll have to just leave it to God. And when I started trusting in Him and leaving it with Him and asking Him to help me and asking me to help me through relationships, at home through children and through friendships and through business, you know, it doesn't mean you're always going to win. It's not about winning. It's not about getting your own way all the time, because sometimes he needs to help us learn as well.
Yeah. Pain helps you grow sometimes.
You need a bit of the pain, and sometimes he needs to say no, because he knows the outcome better than we do. He can hear behind doors. He can see around corners. We can't.
Yes.
He can see the future. So he knows what's better for you than you know for yourself. Even though you might think this road is the one you want to take, he might say, no, I'll lead you to this way. Now, you might see no future in that road in the short term, but I can promise you and guarantee you one thing. If he's leading you down that way and you're in tune, there will be a much, much better outcome for you and for your life and your happiness and, you know, for your soul, of course, for, you know, if you believe in the afterlife and all that stuff. I believe it, so it's true. Or I believe that it's true anyway. But he's going to lead us to a better life, and that's ultimately what we want. We want to be happy. We want to be peaceful. We don't want to have, you know, conflict in our life. We don't want to have confrontation, although sometimes there's the odd confrontation. We'd like to have the outcome that we want the first time, not after 20 attempts or 50 attempts, true? So by trusting in God and just surrendering everything to him is an opportunity to let him do his work, yeah? Because that's what he promises us.
Yes.
So you could be new to your faith, you might be involved in your faith for a long time like I was, but it's never too late to learn more about the journey of the life and the spirit, you know, the spirit of life, learning about how you can live a better life through your spirit, and just completely and utterly saying, God, I'm going to give this to you without worrying about anything about the outcome. One thing I would like to say, you know, before we finish off, is in doing that though, and this is very hard to do, you have to accept the worst case outcome for yourself first. So if the outcome is that, you know, you're not going to get better, or you're not going to win that deal, or you're not going to buy that new car, or maybe you can't mend that relationship that you had, if that's the outcome, you have to accept that first. Because if you accept the outcome as being the worst possible first, before you surrender, then you won't be disappointed if you don't get your own way. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
That's very interesting.
But by accepting the outcome, so whatever the outcome is,
abandoning it to God, I suppose.
absolutely, then you know you can't go wrong.
Yeah, you trust God, whatever. Either he answers your prayer or he takes away the need for that prayer to be answered, which is wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been very inspiring, and I suppose people can go on your website, ichooselife.org.au, if they want to ask any questions.
Correct.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank
Goodbye,
you.
and God bless you.
Thank you.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Join us again next week. Goodbye, and God bless you.
Bring it to birth and blow where you will. Blow, blow, blow till I be but breath of the Spirit.